protecting them. Show your
Call this meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. We'll start by taking roll. Calderon.
Here.
Ms. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Romine.
Here.
And I'm here. We'd like to start with a prayer, and then Mr. Calderon will lead us into the pledge. Please join me if you'd like. Heavenly Father, we gather here today with heavy hearts. As we mourn the loss of our dear colleague, Peggy Appleton, and her husband, Terry. We remember their positive quality, kindness, humor, dedication to this board, this district, and this community. We are wounded by their absence and feel the weight of their grief. Lord, we ask for your comfort and healing for all who knew and loved them. May we find strength in each other and in the memories of Peggy and Terry. We pray for their peaceful rest and for their family and friends during this difficult time. As we come together to conduct the business of the board, please guide us Peggy's help so that we are able to make decisions that really impact children's lives, as Peggy has done and will continue to do at the Lord's side. In your name we pray. Amen.
Join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would take approval for the agenda for this meeting with one change. Item 6B should read, consideration of mill levy capital improvement resolution tax ballot question and public school buildings tax selection and others matters relating thereto. With that change, I would seek approval of the agenda for this meeting, August 19th, 2025.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I seek approval for the action of the minutes of the regular board meeting of July 15th, 2025.
Make a motion that we approve the regular board meetings of July.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Recognition, we have a special night tonight and a special guest. We have Natalie Nicole Webb, a summer graduate.
Just want to go down front.
Mhm. No, I'm gonna do this.
Welcome to the class of 2025 summer graduation. This is a very special graduation. Natalie, Nicole's her middle name. Natalie made the decision to come back this summer and take the final steps to finish her coursework and to graduate from Hobbs High School. We are honored to share in the celebration of achievement. So now, without further delay, Superintendent Gene Strickland, Board President Mr. O'Brien, and members of the school board. This graduate before us has successfully fulfilled all requirements expected of her by both the New Mexico Public Education Department and those requirements established by our local board. With the class of 2025 graduate Natalie Nicole Webb, please come forward and receive your diploma.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say a few things about it, if that's all right. So I got a chance to visit with Natalie, just a second ago, and, okay, all right. So almost a year ago, Natalie was in my office, and I planned on quitting school under the umbrella of, I want to get my GED. We had some conversations and through her commitment, her dedication, Stafford High School and Alt School, and the parents and family support, that's yours. That's your name on it, and we're proud of it. Tell everybody what you're doing now.
I started a soap business. It's called the Cleansing Cauldron. I do Saturday night market, and then I work at Hobby Lobby.
Take some more pictures of it.
Yes, sir.
Appleton moved.
Want that out of the way, Jim? Natalie, proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, guys.
At this time in the board meeting, we'd like to honor Miss Appleton and, her husband Terry. I'd like to give each board member and Mr. Strickland, everybody up here, an opportunity to say a few words about Mrs. Appleton if they like, and then anybody in the audience as well. Mr. Strickland, if you'd like to start us off.
Yes, sir. Peggy Appleton. Well known in our community for a number of years and served generations of students with Hobbs Schools as an educator, as an administrator, and as a board member. My experience with Peggy has been as a board member in my previous role with operations and with associate superintendency, and then here recently with superintendency. It was not uncommon for Peggy to, in a room of 500 other board members and superintendents, stand up and ask a question of our Secretary of Education, of our Lieutenant Governor, of our governor, of elected officials about how the decisions they make have an impact on our students in Hobbs America. Peggy's questions were always brought a smile to your face because you knew there was an angle in her question. And you were not one to beat around the bush with Peggy. You asked her question, or she asked questions, and you told her what it is that you question asked. When we would go and as our different board meetings and even out of town, and we have a place that we eat at as a board when we have a break and lunch, and it's one of Peggy's all-time favorite restaurants. We couldn't ever skip out. It didn't matter what other was being served for lunch with the meeting. We went there. And that was Peggy's time to build relationships with other board members, with administrators. Caring heart that Peggy approached this role as a board member, I will forever be grateful. She simply said, do what's right for kids, take care of staff. Reminded me of that consistently, almost to the point sometimes that I question, am I not doing that? But never one to avoid a conversation, always one to make a new friend, and was very well respected in the state of New Mexico as a board member. Terry, his time with us as well. When we had our meetings, we always had good conversations, good laughter. Always had some questions about his time with us as an educator as well, and some of the stories that we could share. I know that Peggy's service to this board may have come to an end in the physical space, but the legacy that she leaves is carried with each and every one of us. And I'm eternally grateful to her leadership and to her faith and trust in me. So Brian, I thank you for that opportunity to be able to speak about not only a boss, but a friend. One of the best.
Yes, sir.
And dearly missed.
Terry actually worked for Mobile Oil with my husband, so I actually knew Peggy and Terry for a long time. Then when she was, I don't know if she was a teacher when I started on the board, and then she got to be an administrator, and we grew, you know what I mean, and have a relationship, you know what I mean, business-wise and personal, you know what I mean. We had lots of things in common, and I totally enjoyed knowing her and having conversations with her. And I will have to cut this short, but in my daily prayer, in my daily working medicine that I take, which thank God is not much, and I'm blessed and I'm glad to be here tonight. He always prayed and said, you know, God, to forgive us for our imperfections and our shortcomings every day. I say that gets me through the morning, every morning that I can ask him. And I pray to help me with any shortcomings that I have for that day and for the imperfections that we have in our lives. We're not trying to be perfect, but we need to do his will. And as far as the board is concerned, we've had very few women on the board. And so, you know what I mean? I enjoyed, you know what I mean, having dialogue and conversations with her about our duties and what we do and how we do it, and just going to be so missed. I know her daughter. I never did meet up with the grandbaby, but I can tell you this, you know, it takes you to get just one. And when you do, there's nothing in the whole world. And I know she was going to be one of the best grandmas that a grandchild could ever want to have. But she cares tremendously about students in this community. She worked with CASA. A lot of people, you know what I mean, they don't know what all people do and they go through, and to be a community person. But that she was at heart. She will truly be missed. And I can say now that when they said that nobody can take anybody's place, and that we have to make sure that daily the people that we love, that we tell them that we love them, that we care about them, and that we're concerned. And I want to thank God for allowing her to be in the pathway of my life and help. And, you know, we all have a few health problems, and we've gotten old enough now to talk about them and laugh about them. And so, you know what I mean? I enjoyed that with her. You know what I mean? You don't tell anybody about your aches and pains except for your friends. You know what I mean? Nobody else really cares. And so I would totally miss her. You know what I mean? And I thank God for her. And like I say, and Terry. Thank you.
I've only had the opportunity to be on the board for about a year and a half, and I didn't meet Terry until I started with the board, but Terry was always a ray of sunshine, always a pleasure to be around. He was always entertaining. Peggy I've known for years, although I saw a different side of her sitting on the board. I've known her for quite a while, and she definitely had a way about her. But everything she did was for the kids and for the schools. And she worked tirelessly to make sure and get that done. And she definitely will be missed.
Peggy and I worked at Hawk School for 30 years at University of Colorado. I'm a grumpy old man. And I love sitting next to her here because she was always laughing, always had a sense of humor that lifted me up. And she was a mother hen to me, maybe because I had a mother hen at home. And I don't know if they got together, but she took care of me. I had cataract surgery and she was concerned, do Joe do this, do this. Then I was talking to a friend that had cancer outside and she kind of hurt the with cancer. She was deeply concerned. I found out about a week ago that she had cancer that I was told. I didn't know if we could give her cancer up. Then we used to go eat. I had the urban. Again, Terry. I love Terry because he didn't touch. I don't talk about it. And then, Joe, where are you going? Well, when I was younger, freeways, the interstate doesn't bother me. Now I'm cautious. And she got on me because I was going to freeways. Finish eating, give me the keys. I said, yeah, I don't care, I had cataract surgery and I'm not gonna ride at night on the freeway, but to her was nothing. Then kept asking, so have you checked your cancer? Because I had a blood test, I had an MRI, and I wasn't getting the results. We should get. The first, besides my wife, the first person I told was Peggy. I don't get emotional, but stuff like that. I didn't want to be here tonight. It's really hurts. Really hurts. There was another side of Peggy, and she got on me and Terry one day. And they're walking from Marietta, I think, to police. Says, you guys are too slow. So are you keeping Terry up? Because Terry's keeping me off. So walk a little bit faster. So she had a way of, what bothers me is that in my age, I'm set in my ways. Listen to Peggy, everything she told me. Then I said, God, we had a topic we always talked about. Animals. I know she loved kids, but animals. We were sitting at the groundbreaking for the new middle school, and we were fighting the ants. Terry, you were fighting the ants too. And then somebody, her sister, somebody told her to take one of the shovels. I said, remind me, that's the last time I talked to her about the shovel ever. And then we talked about dogs. I think she had 5. I said, Joe, I got 2 that are naughty. I don't know what they did, but chickens and all that kind of stuff. I don't know who's gonna lift me up, but
Well, I, same with Carrie. I've been on the board for 8 years, and that's when I met Peggy, was when I got on the board. She was definitely a mentor, a friend. We served on the state board of directors together. And it's back to what Jean said, she wasn't afraid to tell you what she was thinking in those meetings. And I promise you, there's a lot of times that some of those people in those meetings need to hear honesty. And she was one that was, she was going to give it to you, whether you wanted to hear it or not. And it was a pleasure serving with you on this board. and on that board as well. She was business when it came to business, but she always had a smile. She always had a funny story. Just talk about her family and her love for her family. And I know her family loved her as well. So definitely going to be missed. I know we kind of share funny stories, but I remember the last time we were in Albuquerque, we went out to dinner. So, went out to a big dinner with a bunch of other boards, and we were sitting there. I ordered a beer, local brewery beer, whatever. Terry got sitting there having a beer. I finished mine. The waitress come by. I think I'll have another one of those. And Terry's like, well, I think I'll have another one of those as well. Peggy's like, I don't think you need another one. And Terry, like, well, by God, I'm going to get another one. But, I don't know exactly. That was kind of what he insinuated. So we shared another beer together. So yeah, Terry was such a charm. I know that many times at those state meetings, drinking coffee. I know him and my wife Sarah had many conversations together when we were in meetings, and Terry'd always be sitting down in the cafe or down, drinking coffee or whatever. And he was just such a pleasure to visit with and talk to, as was Peggy. And her impact on this board, this district, and this community will be everlasting. And her memory and all that she's accomplished will live on. So we definitely love her, love Terry. We miss him so much. I miss my friend.
At this time, we'll extend it to either members that are on the wings and those of you that are in the audience that would like to say something in honor of Peggy and or Terry. I would ask that you line up there on the side, and then we'll come here to the microphone and share that. And after everyone's done, we will take a short recess so that, one, we can get out of these hot gowns, but everyone can compose themselves as well. We imagine it will get fairly emotional. Start down there. Terry, another Terry. By the way, when we talk to each other, there's a lot of T's and a lot of Y's. So
I've known Peggy for a very, very, very long time. My kids used to go to Southern Heights. When they were little, just starting, Peggy worked at Southern Heights. And they would come in and say, there's this big, tall, blonde lady. And I said, what do you mean? We have a big, tall, blonde teacher. And later, a couple of years later, I started working for the schools, and that's who it was. It was Miss Peggy. She was right. And then the last meeting that we had with Terry used to work in this office. Also, he was our homebound teacher. And so I met with him quite often. But the last meeting that we had in Albuquerque with Terry and Peggy, the same beer, my husband and Terry, husband was keeping me entertained. I don't know what they were doing. I kind of ignored it because they were telling dirty jokes. And so that was the last meeting that we had, besides when he was here for the last board meeting. But he's always been very, very nice.
So, Mr. President, members of the board, just very quickly, I only knew Peggy as a board member, but I can say that in my 6 years here in Hobbs and 30 overall in education, Peggy Appleton was the embodiment of what a board member should be. She was caring, she was thoughtful. There was no doubt that her heart was for kids. everything that we talked about dealt with kids and how they were doing. She also had a deep concern for staff and their well-being as well. And so without her support, a lot of matters, things in Hobbs would be a lot different. I don't see Hobbs being the same place as it is today without the work that Peggy Appleton put in. Unfortunately, I never knew Terry, but Peggy means a lot, and she will be deeply missed.
So my experience with Appleton, Mr. President, members of the board, maybe a little different than I didn't get the opportunity to work with her very long, but more so I knew about her through mom, who worked in another district as a sped director, and echoes a lot of what was said here tonight. Never afraid to stand up during the middle of a special ed general session and tell those folks what she thought and how it should be done. I know just sharing that information and the news about Peggy with my mom, she was devastated. They continued on their friendship, you know, just through the connections that they made. And so it really, just looking at her career, just was the embodiment of everything that's been said here tonight.
I think I can be heard. I am going to reflect on this area. But prior to going forward, let me say this. My husband, the late Donald Brooks, Mrs. Pat Jones' husband, the late T.C. Jones, and Terry Appleton all worked together at Mobil Oil Company, location Buckeye. Well, Appleton left Mobil going into education. It was at the same time that I was transferring from Houston Junior High to the art school. That was 1997. Okay, 1998, Mr. Appleton was assigned as the secondary homebound teacher. I was assigned to the seniors at the art school. I had this one lady who had missed graduating by 1 credit. She was assigned to me. Mr. Appleton was the best homebound, loving, caring teacher anyone would ever want to have. He would go and pick up work. Child lived in the Hobbs apartments. He would pick work up and bring it, and I would say, Mr. Appleton, how is she getting so much done with the little one running around? And he would say, oh, she gets it done. And she was very smart and did an awesome job in the subject government, I remember. To this day, this lady gives credit to Mr. Terry Appleton for believing in her that she could graduate, and she did. In the meantime, she has 3 grown sons, all graduated from Hobbs High. And it goes back to Mr. Appleton believing in her. And he often, to me, served as a father image those students in need. So I was blessed to have Mr. Appleton serve as the homebound teacher. And I have pictures.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Brooks.
Ms. Brooks is my tech teacher in West Houston. I'm Terry Marie Appleton. I'm Vicky Appleton's daughter. My sister would be here too, but she has a baby to take care of in Fort Worth. He's going to be 5 months old tomorrow. I'll talk about Mama first because I wrote stuff down, but I didn't write anything about Daddy, so I'll have to come up with something. I remember like 12 or 13 years ago when Mama was she was so excited to run for the school board, and she told me about it, and I didn't know anything. I was just like, oh my goodness, who's against you? How do you get a campaign? And she she got it, and we were so excited, and she was excited as well. One time, I don't remember exactly where we were, but I overheard her tell someone that being on the school board allowed her to act as God's servant to the children of Hobbs, allowing her to improve their overall school experience. She said that is, you know, she felt that was her main thing that she could do as acting as God's like hands and feet. And most board meetings Tuesdays, if I didn't forget, I would make sure I went over to her house. And as she was getting ready, I would tell her about my day. And I would, end up going home, and she would always make me dessert. And after the school board meeting, she would always call me, and she would tell me about special things that happened, like graduates, like state champs for athletics or academics. She talked about when the nurses got honored for the COVID-19 of being such a good job. And she talked about presentations that architects gave and about the new schools, and I was excited about that. I remember her talking about like some members of the choir would come sing. I was and am still proud that Mama was on the school board for Hobbs, New Mexico. I know that if God didn't need her in heaven, that she would be running for another term, which she was once again very excited about. And all about Mama. Just talk forever about her. Anyway, Daddy. I didn't know he drank. They were asking me to talk to him. Not till like 25 years ago. Made a liar out of me. Thank you. But I remember when Daddy worked for Mobil Oil, and he was forced retired. And I guess they were just making cuts, and they were encouraging their older members to retire. And that was really hard because I was about to go to college. And I remember Mama saying, you got to keep going. We have 2 girls to pay for college. And Daddy had a teaching degree that he got at Western. And I think he only used it like 1 semester in Lawrenceburg. And he knew he wanted to be a teacher, but I guess he had to take some tests and he had to do some stuff before that. And my dad knew that he had to pay for college and be good examples for us. And he worked at the Town and Country by our house at night so that he could provide for us, and he just got minimum wage for it. And at the time, I was so embarrassed. But I know that he was doing what was right and just doing what, he was paid money the best he could until he could start. He substituted, and then he taught a year at Houston. I know that was hard on him because those kids can be rough. And then he became the school-bound teacher. And I know my mom said he had a bird in the nest, a nest on the ground job. And so he was very grateful for that. And I'm not sure exactly how long he did it. He retired when I was in Alaska. But thank you for listening to me. And please continue to pray. Mama has parents. And her mom is just devastated and thinks it should have been her. Please pray for them. And then pray for us and travel mercies for people who are coming for the service on Saturday. And thank you for all your kind words. And
stand in recess. 45.
recreational reports.
I know it's the beginning of school, but you tell me the numbers that the short or long or
So,
thing covered?
so we actually with Skyward Finance down right now, we've gone to a paper for applications. No, we're 10 elementary openings. We'll be set.
You know, when you've gone out recruiting, I had the pleasure of understanding the hard times that we have to go through in recruiting people to come to this town. I went with Sandra Newell, and you know, to me, if you have some people that have a gift of gab and a few other things, if they can't get you to come, probably can't anybody hardly get you to come. And I wasn't trying to go with her to Michigan or any of those places because when it was cold, she was getting people that were trying to get out of the cold to come here, but just going, trying to recruit people. And ladies and gentlemen, if you all don't know that other people, other states give signing bonuses, and is a dissent decree that we have or something like that that prohibits us from giving sign-us bonuses and too many moving packages and stuff like that. They do it for some other professions, but New Mexico has real strict guidelines, you know what I mean, and us doing that. But you know what I mean, I always tell people if you're hunting a place to raise your kids and not the hustle and bustle of a big city, Hobbs is a place to come. But you know, we could get some husband and wives to come, and thanks to HR and let's see, I'm not going to get these titles mixed up. Who is personnel? HR? Okay, and then the others finance. Personnel is that when Pam started introducing some things like we pay for the
Masters.
this
Yep,
and you got
yep.
to help me out. You know what I mean? It started helping people to want to come because if they were husband and wife team, they could get ahead and, you know, had to sign an agreement. So, you know, when you have a real hard job, but hadn't kept up with it like I probably should have. But sometimes we get people from El Paso because some people are not trying to get too far from home, from that area, you know, when you leave and go to these schools. But when you go, you've got these table set up and they're giving out $5,000 signing bonuses and moving packages and stuff. It's awful hard. And so I don't know. I've always been adamant that we need to make some changes there and put some different type of waivers there. But it seems like when I start talking and asking those questions, I kind of like it's kind of like ask somebody to start some zoning. You know what I mean? You talking about get a shut down and a shut off. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like, okay, but it still doesn't keep you from asking. But you know what I mean? I suppose that, you know, that we can do it to keep getting quality teachers coming for our students. But no, I thank you for the hard work because it is a very hard job and lucky we're not down more than because we have some districts that are way worse than that. But I really do appreciate the job that you do.
Any other questions for Mr. Burke? Thank you. Like I said, we do appreciate what you do, and I know I speak for everybody on the board. It's tough, you know, especially, you know, getting teachers here. And we do pay good, you know, compared to other districts, even across the state line. But the other part about it here is Oldfield pays better. So you got to live on the Oldfield economies. So, but yeah, so just keep up the hard work. Thank you for what you do, and we'll get those spots filled. So. Thank you, Mr. Burke. Yeah. Operations.
Mr. President, members of the board, you have the project updates in front of you. Middle schools are going good. A lot of summer projects completed, and stand for any questions over the project update.
Questions for Mr. Young?
I have none.
Okay, and then in front of you are two action items. One is new, dealing with Heiser. This is an agreement with the city of Hobbs to allow Heiser football to practice at Heiser Park. Their practice field is no more. It's being poured in concrete right now. And so the city of Hobbs has graciously allowed Hobbs schools to utilize Heiser Park. We do have equipment for them to be able to transport their water, their blocking dummies, all that back and forth from Heiser to that practice field. So we would recommend the approval of the MOU with the city of Hobbs to use Heiser Park. The second one deals with our yearly agreement with the city of Hobbs for our middle school athletic programs with 6th and 7th grade, and the coordination between the city of Hobbs and Hobbs schools.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Young on either one of the MOUs?
I'd like to make a motion that we consider with the city of Hobbs for the use of the Heiser Park.
You do both or just one? Okay, we have a motion and a second for the MOU for the city of Hobbs, Heiser Park. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And make a motion for the consideration of the MOA for the middle school athletics with the city of Hobbs. For the 6th and 7th grade, you said is what that mainly is geared for?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you, City of Hobbs, for your City of Hobbs.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Mr. Young?
No, sir.
Mr. Lashaway, welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome to your first board meeting. Nice to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. President and members of the board, we have three action items for you tonight. Under the business section, for section header A, we've got our consideration for expenditures. And under B, we have our consideration of investments. And under C, we have our consideration of two bars. Our first bar is our GOV library fund in the state of New Mexico, and they are actually decreasing our revenue by the amount of $107,728.62. This is requirement by the Capital Outlay Bureau that's requiring us to reduce that due to some carryover funds that have been reallocated. So, and our second bar before you is our grads, is our graduation reality and dual role skills program, and its initial budget of $16,000 for our high school support our expectant and parenting teenagers, and so that is an initial budget of $16,000.
Thank you. Any questions or anything for Mr. Lashaway?
I have none, but I do have a. When it seems to come to books, everybody's got a problem because of these computers. And I'm kind of like, my granddaughter was looking for something one time, and yeah, you tell them, but I'll go get them a dictionary. You know what I mean? Do you think that they know what a dictionary is really meant? And you know, you give them a little bit of the spelling so they can go back, but I'm kind of like, we're losing out on so much because people don't understand the value of books. I always had a book in my car, wherever I was when LaToya was going somewhere, for her to read and to understand. But as far as that, they think that you gotta know, they don't know what, you know, encyclopedias. Oh, we can just go online and look at it. You gotta understand what research is. I am on a different tyrant about just some of the things that are happening in education that it's like it's backwards instead of going forward. you know what I mean? And when we want our kids to be expressive and know things, we have to go back that, you know, everything you read, it really is in the book. So you used to say everything you read is not in the book, but now everything that you actually want to read and know is probably in a book, you know what I mean? And so I'm just, but I've always been big on libraries and I always encourage people to vote for the library when it's on the ballot, you know what I mean, for the library funding to keep it there because still need books. But no, appreciate it.
I'd like to seek a motion on approval of the expenditures, investments in both bars.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Lashway?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. Mr. Strickland.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, I have for your third and final consideration policy advisories number 263, 264, 265, 266, 268, and 269. And as a general reminder, we have heard these at both the June and the July board meetings. There has been no adjustments to these policies as prepared by the New Mexico School Board Association Policy Service. After your consideration this evening, assuming approval, we would take these policy advisories and inform Policy Service, and they would integrate these into our board policy and they would be active. Would note that out of those things there, we all are already performing in that manner, with the exception of number 269. We will do that before the end of the school year as it relates to parental guidance for water safety.
Thank you, Gene. Mr. Strickland.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the third reading of the policy service advisors for 263, 264, 65, 266, 268, and 269.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, members of the board, next item is the consideration of our mill levy resolution scheduled for November the 4th in this regular election. With the update to the motion, Mr. Brad Anks of Stiefel is here this evening to share some news with us on our bond sale that we just recently completed, but also talk about the significance of this mill levy resolution and the timing of it leading up to the November regular election. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Mr. President, members of the board, Brad Anks with Stiefel Public Finance. We serve as the school district's municipal bond advisor. Thanks for having me here tonight. Just briefly, the SB 9 and HB 33 mill levies are capital maintenance and improvement funds. While the state of New Mexico provides operational dollars for the classroom through SEG funding, they expect the local community to pay for the maintenance and improvement of your facilities. What we're proposing is a mill levy renewal. Hobbs School District has had the 2 mill SB 9 and 4 mill HB 33 in place going back 10 plus years. We're simply asking that you ask voters to renew that for another 6 years. Something a little bit different about the timing, you may see that the mill levies expire in 2026 because of the new election timing rules where school districts need to go out on November of odd numbered years, go out this November of 2025 in order to have your voters consider approval of that before that mill levy is set. Should you decide not to, there would be an opportunity for a special election in 2026 before the expiration of that. However, there's cost that would be borne by the school district. You have postage requirements. You have to mail a ballot to every registered voter with return postage if you do that. So we do recommend that you send this to voters here in November. Just a quick update before you go to a vote on your GO bond. We did sell bonds for the district here this past month in early July. I just wanted to report that we were able to hold your mill levy steady as this board and staff instructed us to do. And we're pleased with the result. It was a 7-year final maturity, so a very fast repayment of this debt. We were able to lock in a 3.24% tax exempt interest rate on that series of bonds. But with that, happy to answer any questions.
Actually, I have a question, Brad, but I know I want to say thank you for the good job that you always do, but we have to send out ballots.
No, ma'am. This
still
would
go
put
vote.
you on the regular election cycle.
Okay.
The alternative would be a special.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, this motion would require a roll call vote.
I'd seek a motion for consideration of the mill levy resolution as I read earlier.
Moved.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Calderon,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries.
Mr. President, members of the board, the last two items I have for you are information. One is the enrollment report, and happy to report that enrollment as of today is 10,095. The second page of that is a different report that we started to prepare, is a cohort report. Really wanting to look at how our grade levels are progressing as they move through our system in terms of numbers. And so you can see there that overall, for a district in those cohort of kids, for our 1st through 12th graders, we're up 74 students in those 1st through 12th graders for an increase of 0.86%. What you don't see counted in those total numbers is the kinders for this year, because we didn't have them last year. In addition to those numbers that are there, if you were to add those up, they would not equal the totals on this first page of 10,095, because we also don't see pre-K. And we've got nearly 300 pre-K students with a waiting list of about 25 kids that are served in our 3- and 4-year-old program. So with that, I do have that report for information. And the last report I have for information is the election calendar for this month. You can see there that there's a number of things that are highlighted that are district responsibilities. And as we complete those things, we will update that with a check mark, just like we did on July the 7th. And with your approval of that consideration, that complete will change to a check mark as well. And when we come back together in September, we'll have that first page taken care of. With that, I would stand for any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Strickland?
I have no.
I see those enrollment numbers
Yeah.
Yes,
moving
sir.
up.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, the last item we have are announcements. As Terry Marie mentioned earlier, this Saturday, August 23rd at 10:30 a.m. at Taylor Memorial Baptist Church, the services for Terry and Peggy Appleton will be held. On Labor Day, September 1st, the district will be closed and we will observe that holiday. And then we will be back together for our September board meeting on September the 16th. And you all should have received the regional board meeting invitation. And I'm drawing a blank on the day. It's a Monday.
Monday before our meeting, right?
I think it's the 15th. Yes, sir.
Hey. There wasn't an agenda attached. He said there's, see the attached agenda and there wasn't an agenda, so it's.
22nd. 22nd. Yes, sir.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to say something on a personal basis that I want to thank everybody for their thoughts and prayers and helping me to move along. And I have been sharing with some of you that I can't seem to get all of my doctors and people on the same page, but you know, God is good and I thank him that he's everywhere. And so I do appreciate it, and Jean keeping me abreast of what's happening and going on between him and Terry. You know what I mean? And, during graduation this past May, on a personal note and a professional note, I thank the God's will for taking calls after 5 o'clock. We had a system that kept going down. This young man, and let me give you a little background because I didn't know it until after. The baby that was put in the dumpster, the dad has the baby. That family does. The system would not stay up for, and don't get me wrong, well, my grandmother would just say piss ass around. And that's exactly what he did. Piss assing around and not taking care of it before you get to the last day and the last minute. The system kept going down, and I know the last I had of it until 9 o'clock at night, Mr. Godswill was still working with people, trying to get the system back up so the young man could finish taking the test. I'm so glad that he graduated. Didn't know until all of this happened about him. I always knew the family, this, that, and other, but it was kind of like a relief for me, for his mother, once I found out, because I hadn't had a lot of dealings with her in years, but we do have people that go totally out of the way, out of bounds, out of everything to help these kids succeed. In my career, I've only missed 3 graduations. One when I very first hurt myself, one when we had COVID going on, and then this last one. I would have just passed out there. There was no way for me to come and sit. And it's not that we weren't in the awning and all of that, but it just would have been an impossibility. And so, not to make things any worse, Gene had gone through a lot of trouble to make sure that he was accommodating me, but it just still was not going to work. But I just want to say at this meeting, thanks to Mr. Godswill, and I wish that we had students that would come back and say thank you. That way he didn't have to try to go through the GED process and this, that, and the other. And say this for Hobbs schools and for our counselors and our people, even when we have students, and this will make me cry, that have aged out, we still help our students. It's just amazing because I have talked with school board members and other places that they don't, and this boy had basically aged out. But they were still working with him through alt school and this, that, and the other. And sometimes we just have kids, they wait till the last minute and get between a rock and a hard place, and then they want the whole world to stop and to do this. Well, I can tell you that Mr. Godswill took a lot of his own personal time and interest to make sure that that happened. And I'm quite sure a lot of teachers do, but I always say that we try to thank our teachers and our administrators and people like that, you know what I mean, that accept calls. And I hate to say that I never call them until I have a problem. So I've been trying to call them sometimes just to say hi. And so I'm gonna have to get better at that. You know what I mean? Because they know whatever it is that I've either don't have anybody else to turn to, or I'm hunting for some information. And it's not that I don't want to trouble Gene, but I don't. I think sometimes he'd have to go back and tell them. So I'm just playing middle, straddling, you know what I mean, which way to go. But I've had so much help when I do call people and ask them to reach out to the families and these kids to make them a success. And him, I really would have been one of those that I would have wanted to hand him his diploma, because like I say, it had gone way beyond the call of duty, Mr. Godswill, to make that happen. And it was, we have lots of teachers that do that, so I won't put it past any of them. Maybe I don't know about them, but we just need to make sure. And when we say that, we truly mean it, that we're glad that for our school district, for our administrators, and for our teachers, because they really do. 172 students
That
graduate?
720, tonight meets 722.
Oh, 700. I got the numbers mixed up.
Yeah,
But
yep.
anyway, that's just fantastic. And like I said, been there a long time. That's as many students as I ever recall. I always tell Gene, I said, we're gonna have to start having a sack lunch and
The recess.
you know what I mean? and frozen ice and a few other things, you know, to go through that many, but I'm glad that we have the numbers. I'm glad to see that we're up to 10,095 students. And like you said, it's still, this is after Labor Day.
See what that number is?
You know, we've gone through a lot, but I appreciate all the work that everybody does. I appreciate all the questions that I have to ask. And so sometimes they don't have to get past Terry, because usually if she doesn't know, she can have me a answer pretty quick, you know what I mean? But I do appreciate you, Terry, like I said, when I do call, you know what I mean, for the help. But that's just phenomenal. And I just want to thank him and thank everybody, you know what I mean? Because somebody had to be praying for me, because I've had too much good luck. And it's gonna happen. I'm going to try and be back full force. And I told him I was able to, didn't think I was gonna make it today, and I was just trying everything that I possibly know to do it. And I did make it, and so I'm really glad to be here today. You know what I mean? They said, that's my daughter.
Definitely glad to have you here for sure.
And I appreciate you checking on me, Terry, you know what I mean, and for the encouragement, you know what I mean, because it's just debilitating that I'm just not able to move forward. And Terry Marie, I'm glad to see you, you know, again. And like I say, we all loved your mother. Like I say, you know, we could talk cooking, and we could talk sewing, and we could talk things that I don't talk to these guys about, you know what I mean? I just loved it, you know what I mean? And, so I really appreciate it. Being here tonight, it just meant a lot. And so I want to thank you, Joe. I want to thank you, Terry. I want to thank you, Carrie. And I want to thank you, Jean and Terry, you know what I mean, for helping. Like I say, I appreciate David coming up here and helping me come in and bring my stuff, you know what I mean? But it's an overall ordeal sometimes to get in. And so I feel like I'm imposing, and that's the wrong thing to do. But sometimes it just feels that way. I don't care. I thank God that I'm here, and glad that we had a wonderful meeting. Thank you.
Second. We're adjourned.